Absolutely. I love that term, first responders, really, because they're there all the time. And as hard as it is for them to manage perhaps their own work, what's going on in their own lives, they've got to be right there to help with the kids too. They're the first responders. I guess me as a teacher, I consider, maybe I'm a second responder or something like that, but we definitely have to communicate some tools and some techniques and some tips that help them manage that. And are you just concerned about just the very sense that students are in front of a screen, even, third and fourth graders for so many hours per day?
Well, that's a great point. I think before the pandemic started, before March 13th, I think is when all the Seattle schools were let out, which seems like a long time ago, and it is. We knew that the dominant daily activity for most children were screen activities, were technology. And the old African proverb of "it takes a village to raise a child," the old thinking was, I'm not sure the electronic village is doing a good job. But now we've defaulted to screens because the screens are how we get our children to school. And remember that children use screens before, during, and probably after the pandemic to educate and entertain themselves, and to create, communicate, consume, and also now congregate, all the C words.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
we have to think of screens as essential. Now, for old people like myself, we have two lives. We have an offline life and an online life. But to children, it's the same life. It is not different to them. And we have to understand, if we use the term digital natives, we have to understand that they are very facile. And most of the time, they are the chief technology officer in the house. And we have to understand that they need their screens. But the question is, all screens teach. All screens teach. The great George Gerbner from the University of Pennsylvania created that in the 50s. And because it's a dominant childhood activity, what can we identify that the screens are teaching in terms of culture, political, social, religious culture, education? What values do the screen impart? Are they imparting the values that you want your children to learn? Values such as, not like, tolerance, empathy, decency, kindness. And we can talk about that a little later in terms of your youngsters growing up to be good digital citizens, using their skills and this tool to create appropriate content. So I think for parents, the idea is, like most things, there have to be boundaries in the household, and there have to be negotiated boundaries. For instance, when you have a gallon of ice cream, you don't say to your youngster, just, here's the spoon. When you're finished, let us know. Not going to happen. So we have to look at the content on our screens like we look at the content in that ice cream gallon. Maybe not as nutritionally, shall we say, healthy. So parents have to look at what I call the 3 C's: content. What is it on the screen that they're looking at? And again, some youngsters are great video game players. Is it an appropriate video game for them? Some kids are great at creating content. They want to do robotics. They want to be on the screen a lot. But again, the toughest word in parenting is balance. Okay, that's a very tough word. Where's the balance in life? Are they missing meals? Are they not sleeping? So the boundaries have to be there. Perhaps you have to negotiate technology-free zones in your house. Bedtime. Again, are kids staying up all night, changing their sleep schedules so they're sleeping till 11, they're missing class, or they're not able to be present in class? That has to be identified. So I think for a parent, identify what you can see, and when you identify that, bring that to the forefront and say, this is what I've observed, and I'm worried because. And the same thing goes for homework, I might add, rather than just checking on, have you completed it? What were your test scores? How can I help you with your homework? Or can you show me or teach me about your homework? So parents have to be curious. That's part of the C's, as we would say.
Oh, I like that one too.
So the second thing is, after content, is context. What is the context that they're using the screen in? Is it something for school? Are they researching it? Are you worried about context? because remember, the internet is a wonderful highway, but there are a lot of, shall we say, very, very suspicious off ramps that go to not so great neighborhoods. So if you want to look at context, especially for younger kids, we talk about co-viewing, not only curating content for younger children and finding good content for them, which you can find at our friends at Common Sense Media, who have a wonderful thing called Wide Open School and wonderful tutorials for young kids as well as teenagers on digital citizenship. So the context is very important. And again, if you find that their context is great, if they're investigating websites, ask them about, where are you going? Show me what you're doing. If you're going to do TikTok, show me what you're looking at on TikTok, because TikTok seems to be the thing. Or show me your Instagram. What's on your Instagram? Facebook is more for older folks now. And the third thing is, of course, the child. Using a computer or a laptop is much different if your child has learning challenges or is autistic than it is for, shall we say, a youngster that is doing well in 5th grade. So we have to always individualize the use of the computer. But that doesn't obviate, that doesn't mean that parents can't look at boundaries, because balance means that we're going to have balance in terms of not just mealtime and bedtime, but maybe time during the day where we're going to have a digital detox and we're going to all read, or we're going to discuss something, or we're going to watch, if you have older children, what will pass sometimes as a debate on television. And then we can discuss, was that really a debate? Because in high school, if you were having that kind of a debate, you'd be penalized.
That's right.
So
the definition of debate's gone a long ways. So, well, that's great. I love that. Content, context, and child. So for each child, it might be a little bit different.
Yes. And again, the idea of screen time now is sort of being pushed aside, because we understand that there's going to be more screen time than normal, and normal can be somewhere between 5 to 6 hours a day. What we don't want youngsters to do is screen time and multitask while they're doing their schoolwork. And that's where parents need to say, this is probably not healthy for you, because if you're multitasking, your work will be done slower, you will make more mistakes, and it will cost you a lot of mental energy to do both.